You're listening to the Life Like You Mean It podcast, episode number 1. Overcoming your limitations often starts with your beliefs about your abilities, life, and your place in it, as well as what you deserve. Today we'll be talking about overcoming a variety of stumbling blocks, including things out of our control, like the words and actions of others. There are wonderful people in the world, but sometimes some people can affect us negatively, whether they know it or not. What we do with their actions and words is up to us. Will we let them stop us, or will we push through? My guest today, Teresa Bulford-Cooper, the founder and director of TBC Training and Coaching, knows exactly what it's like to face obstacles, all of which had the potential to stop her in her tracks. And she also knows what it's like to make the choice to push through, sticking to her guns, so to speak. Teresa has faced cruelty from her teachers, unaware of her dyslexia, literally telling her she wouldn't amount to anything, so go sit at the back of the classroom. Despite this, she's written her first book, Ladies, Let's Get Going. She faces chronic fatigue syndrome, otherwise known as ME, every single day. She's raised 2 kids and kept her marriage of 40 years on track, all while investing in business ventures. I mean, if that doesn't make you exhausted just thinking of all that work, I don't know what would. Now, let's face it, we all have limitations that we face every single day. It's the decisions we make in the face of these limitations that makes or breaks us. So are you curious about what decisions Teresa made to get her to this point in her life, a successful businesswoman, speaker, and author? Well, I can tell you, I am so excited for this interview. I just know that you are going to get as much out of it as I did. So let's dive right in and let you meet my friend, Teresa.
You're listening to the Life Like You Mean It podcast, where we firmly believe that you and only you have the power to make the changes you seek in your life. Survivor of 10 years of child abuse, Lisa Sabaniak, will help you to empower yourself to overcome your limitations in whatever form they take, to build the life you truly deserve. It's time to hear from fellow experts who know firsthand what building a successful and satisfying life because of our past experiences is like, and exactly what it takes to do it. If you're ready, willing and able to get honest with yourself, roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty with the hard work that lasting change takes, you're in the right place. Here's your host, NLP practitioner, speaker, Reiki master, author, and chipaholic, Lisa Sabaniak.
So Teresa, welcome to Life Like You Mean It podcast. And why don't you take a moment to just introduce yourself to our audience today?
Thank you, Lisa. It's very kind of you to encourage me to give this talk, because there's lots and lots of ladies out there that need some help. I'm a coach, a speaker, and an NLP trainer. I've just written a book called Ladies, Let's Get Going, to help ladies start up in their businesses, because I've spent many, many years, over 30 years in business myself, watching ladies try to start and struggle and give up. And I do think they need some help. Hence, I've written a book for them.
Excellent. And so just to go back a little bit with some of the struggles that you had. So you had a really difficult time in school because you struggled with dyslexia, but you were undiagnosed at that particular time. And so that must have made you feel like, why am I not getting it? Not having an actual diagnosis and being statemented or anything must have made you very confused. And you write about how that actually made you feel like you were quite stupid.
Yeah, I mean, the teachers told me, oh, just sit at the back of the class. You're not going anywhere. So you might as well just sit there and do some drawing. I was never, ever taken aside and asked what the problem was, how they could help me. They just assumed that I was sick, because I was a girl anyway, and I'm not going to get anywhere. So what's the point in bothering? And when I left school, I just had 6 not even GCSEs. Those days it was CSEs. And one of those definitely was not maths, because they thought I would never even stand a chance, so they didn't put me in for the exam at all. So I was just made to feel sick and stupid, which of course gave real downers on my confidence and self-esteem. And it was a horrible time. I hated school, couldn't wait to get out.
Wow.
But, yeah.
And then later on in life, you were diagnosed with the dyslexia. And so that kind of had a light bulb moment for you for why you were struggling so much. So that maybe put your mind at ease, but you were also diagnosed with an illness, right? With chronic fatigue syndrome. So you're now, was this before or after you had your two kids?
After. All of it, because when I left school, I had a few businesses. I had a few jobs, and then I went on to run my business after I was married. It was my first business, being a photographic model, whizzing around the world. Made myself ill, and I got anorexia, so I had to give that up. And yeah, it's a big story there. But yes, then I went through a few things, a few other businesses. And then because I got ME, I had to give up the business that I was running at the time, which was a glass franchise, where I actually bought out the franchisor and ended up with 14 franchisees at the time. But I had to give up because I got ME, and I went through lots and lots of different therapists who couldn't help me, ended up being hospitalized. But when I was going through these chiropractitioners and all these other therapists, I can remember laying on the bed thinking, do you know what? I could really love to do this chiropractitioner job. What do I need to do then? I need 3 A levels. Uh-oh. How do I get those? And it just so happened that the local college was giving the access course, what they called access course, which was free education for further education for adults at the time. Right. So I jumped on that, and after a year there, pulling my hair out and crying because I couldn't understand a word in chemistry and things, cutting a long story short, I came out with 3 A levels: biology, chemistry, psychology, obviously an important one now, psychology, English literature, English language, and yes, maths. So yeah, I wasn't thick on stupid after all. And they actually thought I was dyslexic then, but it wasn't until I went on to university after that I was in the chemistry class one day, and I said to the tutor, look, I was trying to read how many noughts was on this. It said 0.2 molar or something on this formula. And I said, how many noughts is on that? And he said, are you dyslexic? So I said, well, funny you should say that, because they thought I might be at college, but they sent my writing away, and they just said, stop writing like a 6-year-old and on every other line. So nothing was shown there. Anyway, he said, I think you better go and see the special needs department here. So I sat with Stacey, her name was actually, answered 20 questions, and 16 of those I answered as a dyslexic. So she said, I think you better go up to London and get statemented with the educational psychologist. So up I went, and there it was. And you know what? That was such a huge relief. I was cross as well, because I knew I wasn't stupid and thick. It had to be something, and there it was. And I was so cross with my teachers at that time, because I thought, had they put me aside and spoken with me, I could have been super smart by now, if they'd have treated it properly and helped me. But there you go.
Exactly. And it just goes to show that, the actions and the words of other people can really impact us greatly. A couple of things that I just want to clarify for those that are listening from North America. So when you say ME, that's another term that goes with chronic fatigue syndrome, which is quite large in North America. But ME here is myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is basically the same sort of thing. So I know there'll probably be a lot of listeners that suffer with chronic fatigue, but wouldn't realize that that's what you were actually talking about. And then also in North America, when we're talking about GCSEs and A levels, we're basically talking about credits to graduate school. So GCSEs would be like getting enough credits to get your diploma for secondary school. And then A levels would be like, in the old days in Canada, we had an OAC year, a year 13, which was what you needed to do in order to get into university. So that would be kind of the equivalent for those that are fans in North America. Thank you so much, Teresa. I appreciate that. So here you are are struggling with dyslexia, yet you're putting yourself through school, determined not to give up. You've got this ME or chronic fatigue syndrome diagnosis. You've got 2 kids and you've got a husband at home. You're trying to make sure that your marriage stays a thriving and successful marriage while you're building a business. I can only imagine the struggles that are there. And I know that there are so many people that could relate to having very similar struggles. Maybe not these specifically, but maybe not, being good at taking a test or being good at school for other reasons, or, just not getting on well with others, or struggling with their health like you did, but in other types of ways. What do you think sets you apart from other people who might not understand these types of, limits, that you can actually overcome them? What drove you to keep going?
That's a very good question. I think looking back, it's just that I just have a drive. I think which came from my father, because he was a businessman. And you never, ever, ever give up. And I think if you've got such a passion for something, which is absolutely vital if you're going to succeed in something, you must have that passion. That's what puts it aside. I think that's what makes it special. That's what makes you get up in the morning. That's what makes you go for it. That's what makes you successful. You've got to have that ingrained passion that you really want to do something. You've got to set that goal and really go for it. I don't know where it came from. It's just within me, but I think actually it's the mindset. Yeah. I think doing NLP did a big thing for me when I trained with Richard Bandler. Kind of turned a key in my mind. It made me think differently. It made me understand my mind better. How does that work? How to question myself, not just give up. I always remember when I was diving, I learned to dive when I was at Oxford Brookes University. And the instructor there was standing watching me put my oxygen thing together, and I couldn't get the thing to go on the top, my breathing apparatus. It just wouldn't go on, and I was struggling. He just looked at me and he said, Teresa, you've got to just ask yourself, why won't it go on? And from that, I think that was another key moment for me. Yeah, you've got to question yourself. It's not working. Why is it not working? What can I do differently? And then you kind of take a step back and start thinking logically. That's not working because how can I do that differently? And that opens the windows, takes the shutters off.
I could definitely see how that would separate you from other people, because there are so many other people that I've talked to, myself included in my younger days, where, the passion might have been there to do something, but as soon as I felt like I wasn't good enough, or as soon as somebody else would kind of roll their eyes or chuckle, you can't do that, or, give you that kind of sense, be like, oh, yeah, I can't. Or, it doesn't work out exactly the way that you had anticipated. And so you just naturally go, oh, I can't do this. It's going to be a failure. I'm just going to ditch it right now. Whereas somebody that is got a different mindset, a mindset that is like, no, nothing is going to stop me. I'm going to just regroup here. Failure, I always say failure doesn't exist. It's only redirection, right? Where you just sit and ask yourself some questions. What's going wrong here? What is not working? And where do I have the power to make the changes? Because that is a big belief of mine. And I think something that really separates people who are very successful from people who allow these same thoughts that we all have to bring them down. And that is this understanding that you and only you have the power to make the changes that you want in your life.
Absolutely. It's all about life's rich tapestry.
Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, it's life's learning as well, I think, is a big thing.
Yes. So is this what drove you to write your book?
I think 6 years ago I had 6 books in me, and I just didn't get around to doing it because I was too busy. And then over the years it kind of dwindled. But suddenly I just felt that, do you know what? I've got so much knowledge. I need to pass this on. I need to give this knowledge away so that other people can follow the formula, how to do it, and make a big difference to some of these ladies' lives who otherwise would struggle. So that's the reason I wrote my book, to empower all those ladies out there. Let them have that passion. Let them have that moment. Don't listen to anybody else. Do what you want to do. Go for it. And I mean, I just told everybody, oh, so what? If it fails, it fails. There's no such thing as failure anyway, as you say, Lisa. It's just life's learning curves. That's how you learn in life, by doing failures. You know, people are scared of the word no, especially in sales, but you've got to have some no's. And it's not always no at the moment. It might be, okay, but later. But people say no, and never be afraid of the word no, because that's how you learn. That's how you learn, by mistakes.
That's so true. So why do you say that your book is just for women?
Well, I was asked when I was writing this book by quite a few men, actually, why are you writing this for women? Because men go through the same feelings and emotions and things. And my answer to that, Lisa, was, well, you know what? I'm not a man. I don't think like a man. I don't have the similar responsibilities and things as a man, but I am a woman. I empathise with other women. I know how a woman feels, and I know how a woman struggles with all those things, other things that she has going on in her life, as well as trying to set up and run a business. You know, who takes the kids to school? Who gets all the Christmas presents and wraps them up? Who does the lunch? Who does the dinner? You know, all these little things going on in the background. That, you know, okay, some people share that these days, and that's a good thing, I think, to have equality coming in there. But I understand where women come from, whereas it's kind of different. I can't put my mind in a man's shoes, as it were. So that's why I wrote it for a woman, because I'm a woman.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So it's not that men wouldn't benefit from reading the book. It's just it's coming from a woman's perspective, because you are a woman. And so probably a lot of women are going to be the ones that relate. But if there are any men that are listening, I'm sure that you will be able to find some really interesting bits in this book as well. I think it'll be just as effective for you.
Absolutely.
So you had, I think it was a portion of the book that you had sent to me for me to have a look at before, as I was, doing my research for our interview today. And one of those had this amazing quote from your chemistry teacher. And this was in your A levels, right? So you were just out of secondary school doing the next kind of year or two so that you could either go off to university, or in your case, there was a very specific program that you wanted to be able to take. And here you were, not diagnosed with the dyslexia yet, so you had no real idea what was going on. You still felt like you were stupid, yet you refused to give up. Here is this course that you have to take in order to be able to get in, not just the chemistry, but also maths and a couple of other A levels that you needed to be able to get into this course that you really wanted to take. And you were struggling. I could only imagine the stress that was going through at the time. And you describe it as like pulling your hair out in the middle of the class because you just couldn't get it. And your chemistry teacher comes up and says to you, it's not always the bright, clever ones that make it, it's the ones that have stickability and don't give up that make it. I love that. So what does stickability mean to you?
It means keep going. Just don't give up. Just keep at it. Don't throw the towel in just because you don't understand something. But, do you know what I did when I did in that circumstance? I couldn't understand what the hell was going on, and I was crying, putting my hair out. And by the way, I was a mature student at this time. I didn't go straight from school into college. I had run a couple of businesses before I got there. I was a mature student. But what I did, Lisa, if I didn't understand something, after the class, I'd go to the library and I'd go into the children's section and I would take the most basic books and look at the building blocks up to where we were so that I had that understanding on the foundation. I worked backwards to find out where she was and other teachers were coming from if I couldn't understand, and filled that gap. And that's how
amazing. Because that's not what everybody would do, right? So many other people would just give up. They would let that mantra that starts to play, I'm too stupid for this, I can't do this, take over. And you probably were having those same thoughts, but you said, no, I I can't continue the way that I am right now. There's no amount of looking at this material that's going to make me understand it. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do my research and try to figure it out on my own. You put in the extra time and put in the extra effort, and it paid off.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So was the act of doing that itself, so going into the library and starting to look at these, kind of building blocks, like you say, and having the aha moments of, oh, okay, I'm starting to get it. Was that enough to build your confidence to keep going? Or were there other tricks that you had up your sleeve to try to combat that lack of confidence that would have naturally been there when you're not just a brilliant chemist?
Well, I think the teachers had a lot to do with building my confidence, to be honest, because it was the first year they had run the access course, so they obviously wanted it to lift off and be successful. So there was a lot of encouragement, and of course I wasn't the only mature student there. We were all mature students, although there were some a lot younger than me there. But I remember my biology teacher saying when we were filling out the UCAS forms, which is the form to go on to university, to the application form. And I said, I don't want to fill those in. I'm not going to university. I just want to get these 3 A levels so I can get on this course. And the smartest teacher, I have to say, she said, well, Teresa, just fill it in just in case. So I said, okay. So I applied to Reading University and Brooks, Oxford University, and just to pacify, really. But that was a really smart move by my tutors. Because I was, at the end of the day, I was offered a place at both. So there you go. Now, at least I've lost my track now. What were we saying?
That's amazing. We're talking about confidence. Yeah, your confidence levels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it was the teachers. They ingrained in me that I can do whatever I put my mind to. And they were just really kind, which is what I needed because, I had this horrible thing about teachers from when I was younger. They were really kind and human and really helped me. And I had extra help with my English and my maths. They were just so supportive. They were great. I put that down to my teachers at the time.
That's fantastic. So if we fast forward to today, now you are a business trainer, you're a professional coach, and you spend a lot of time going into businesses and doing different trainings. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I used to put on outside training courses, but I've just decided, actually, writing my book, I did something I put in there for people to just go back to where they are to make sure they're doing the right things in their business. I gave them an exercise to do. And doing this exercise myself, I suddenly realised that I don't really enjoy putting on outside courses anymore. Like courses, presentation skill courses, all those sorts of things. Because trying to get bums on seats is really difficult in this day and age. Yep. People want to go online. So a lot of my courses now are going online. But there's a couple I'd still like to run, which is the Women in Business, Ladies Let's Get Going. That will go on from my book. And possibly people skills courses. But most of them I do now in-house because everything is set up for me. I just have to walk in and give the course. It's so much easier. That can be a couple of people or it can be a couple of hundred people, right? What they want at the time. I will sit down with those, the people that want me to employ me to go into in-house stuff. I sit down with them and I give them a customized project. I sit and listen to them. What is it you want me to get across to your people? What is it you're looking for? What is your aim? What do you want me to do? And we come up with something together. I'll go away and bring it, just put it all together, make the recipe and present it, make it work for them.
Now, am I right in assuming that a lot of the time, no matter what the issue is that they're saying that they have in the workplace, whether that is with engagement levels, productivity, retention rates, whatever it is that you might be speaking to them about, am I right in assuming that a lot of the time it comes down to this kind of impostor syndrome that a lot of people have, this lack of confidence, these limiting beliefs that people have that they can't do it. There's somebody else out there that's better equipped to do it. And those types of things are holding them back and holding back the relationships that they're forming in the workplace.
That's very true, particularly with women. I think mostly women. I mean, men do suffer with imposter syndrome, but I think mainly women, especially when they've had a break from work and they've had maternity leave or something, they go back and they think, "Oh God, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that word. Oh golly, I really can't do this. Everyone else is so much further on than I am. I've had maybe a year out and I'm not up to it. So much has gone on while I've been away." They have all these things going on, and they really feel that they shouldn't be there. There's a lot of that goes on, and there's a lot of people there that feel, oh, okay, I've got this really stupid job. Particularly people that have just been promoted, they suddenly feel, oh gosh, now there's all this onus on me to provide this, that, there, and the other. Oh golly, I'm not good enough. Oh gosh, how am I going to do this? And they start worrying about it. They have this real big dread that they're not going to be able to come up with it because they're not good enough. Somebody else is so much better at this than I am. And believe me, I've been there myself, particularly at university. When I got my BSc with honours, when I came out of university, I could not believe that I had achieved what I achieved. And in fact, that's one of the reasons I went on and did an MSc, a Master of Science in Science, just to prove to myself that I was good enough and I could do it, and I did do it on my own. And it's even years later, I would wake up, I would dream that I'd been failed in my maths exam and they'd taken away my BSc from me because I'd failed. So, and I was always waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder, you're not good enough, you failed your exam, I've had that feeling for years and years. But you know how I got over that, Lisa?
I would love to know. That was my next question.
One step ahead. How to get over imposter syndrome? Okay, here it is. Believe in yourself. Okay, you are different to everybody else in this world. You are an individual. You are good enough at everything you do and anything you want to do. And be happy and be yourself and be happy in your own skin. When you get to that point, that's when your confidence really starts to grow. Start stepping out of your comfort zone and into doing new things, going to new territories. Okay, that's scary at first, but that's how your confidence grows. When your confidence grows, you will get rid of that imposter syndrome because you will then start feeling, wow, do you know what? I did that. I'm good at that. It will start to turn your mind around the way you think. And the way you think, you know this as much as me, Lisa, your thought patterns, that's where it is. It's all about your thought patterns.
Yes.
Start thinking, I am good. I am able to do whatever I put my mind to. I am brilliant. Okay. Those sort of mantras going in your mind. And that's how you do it. You just get getting out of your comfort zone, gain that confidence, and then you realise, do you know what? I am good at this.
Yeah, and you've got to be very consistent with it as well, don't you? Because I used to be a very negative person, and I used to definitely suffered with imposter syndrome and lack of confidence and the whole bit. And I would remember when people would say, oh, try doing these affirmations or these mantras or whatnot. And you're kind of looking for the quick fix, aren't you? And so you think, oh, I'll do it this one day. But, if you suddenly wanted to be, a world-class gymnast, you wouldn't expect to go and take, one lesson at the local gym on how to do a somersault and expect to be able to be at the Olympics or something, right? You would need to put in the effort, the time, the consistency, right? It's like retraining your brain so that your automatic thought goes from those negative thoughts to something more positive. And every time that you are thinking something positive, your brain is interpreting that as an experience you've already had. So it's building up evidence that you are this rock star that you're telling yourself you are. But you're not going to be able to tell yourself for one day or even 1 week and maybe not even for 1 month and believe it. It's got to be consistent.
Absolutely. It takes 21 days to form a new neurologist. What's the word? I can't say this word. It's my dyslexia kicking in.
Yeah. Neurological pathway. Yeah.
Neurological pathway in your brain. It takes 21 days to build that for a new habit to be formed. So you need to be on it, like you say, Lisa. You're absolutely right. It's all about your thinking pattern.
Exactly.
Leave it. Keep going for it.
That's right. That's right. So what advice would you give to someone who can relate to having struggles? I mean, you know, everybody has struggles, but the things that we've talked about today with health issues and issues with learning and trying to, you know, build a business. We didn't even get into the building a business while raising 2 kids and having a husband and a home to take care of. But anybody that can relate to, they just feel like they are struggling. They're 2 steps behind. They see where it is that they want to be, but they just don't know where to start to get there. What advice would you give them?
Okay, take a step back. Just take a step back, analyze, make a list. I'm a great list maker. Make a list of what you want to do, when you want to do it. Set your goals. Look at your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals. Take little steps every day towards them. You cannot build, what's that saying? You can't build Rome in a day, whatever it is. It's like we were just talking about the thought patterns. You have to do a little bit at a time. Keep chipping away. You can't take it all. Don't look at the whole thing at once. What I call is chunk it down. Okay, you've got a car, for instance. Okay, let's take a tractor. I'm looking at a tractor through my window here. Okay, so that tractor's standing out there. It's got 4 wheels, a bucket on the front, grass cutter on the back, got a cab on it. Now that tractor, when it was being made, it didn't come like that. It had to have the body. Then they put the tyres on. Then they put the cuddle on the back. Then they put the bucket on the back. And all those little nuts and bolts had to be put in place. And that's the same way as building a business or anything else you want to do in life. You have to chunk it up a little bit at a time. And when it becomes a little bit too much, you need to just chunk it down a little bit. Take some of those wheels off for a while. Take some of those nuts off for a while and just let it sit. And then when you're ready, you can start putting it back together again. But it's just a way of ducking and diving and finding what feels right for you, not everybody else. Okay, if you're getting tired, you need to rest. That's the one thing they told me about ME, or the other words that you called it, when I was in hospital. The one piece of good advice I got there was, if you're feeling tired, you rest. Because your body is telling you it's time to rest. And I truly believe that with everything. If you're becoming overwhelmed with everything that you're doing, there's so much going on, everything's running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Just take time, go out for a walk, go get your nails done or get your hair done or whatever. Just take some time back and just reflect and just let the dust settle and then gradually come back in again. You can't do it all at once.
That is excellent advice. Now, if we just quickly go back to your book, it is releasing in November of this year, 2019. Is that right?
That's right, Lisa. Early November.
Excellent. Yeah. And what's the name of your book again?
It's called Ladies, Let's Get Going.
Yes, I love it. And people can pre-order your book so that when it launches in November, it'll just come right to their door?
Yeah, they can pre-order on my website, which is www.tbctraining.co.uk.
Excellent. TBC stands for your name, which is Teresa Bulford-Cooper. Yeah. And is that the best way to reach out to you? If people want to look you up and see more of what you do, where would you recommend they go?
Well, they could just type my name into Google and all sorts of things come up. Teresa Bulford-Cooper.
Excellent. Excellent. And I will include links to your website and your social media handle in the show notes, which will be available on my blog shortly after this episode airs. So people will be able to find you, Teresa. They'll be able to, ask you any questions that they have. And they'll also, most importantly, be able to pre-order your book. And then in the future, anybody that's listening to this episode after November 2019, just order it directly.
Yeah, or they can get it on Amazon or any of the bookstores. It should be available.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Teresa, for such an amazing interview. I think there are so many people who would really be able to relate to a lot of the struggles that you talked about, and probably a fair number that can relate to all of them together, right? The struggles of trying to raise kids in a marriage as well and trying to run a business. I mean, we need to have you back on just to talk about that alone. Never mind doing it with an illness, which we also didn't really get into the full nitty gritty of the illness and how that plays out for you. And then also with the dyslexia. So, I mean, absolutely incredible. And all of the work that you do, people can find on your website. And let's hope that this interview really gives some inspiration for others that are struggling as well and gives them some real points of reference that they can go back and actually say, you know what, I can do this.
Good. That's amazing. That's absolutely what I'm here for. And Lisa, if anybody wants to contact me after this, they can contact me at teresa@tbctraining.co.uk. If they want any advice, I'll be happy to give them.
Brilliant. Are you ready to make some serious changes by living your life like you mean it? I've got just the thing for you. I've created a free 30-day challenge to help you transform your mindset and your emotional well-being. For 30 days, you'll receive a daily email packed with goodness, including a new mindset exercise for you to tackle, as well as fun things like meditations. All you need to do is to commit to this challenge by registering and then opening the emails each and every day and completing your challenges. Simple, right? If you said yes, then you're ready and you know that you deserve this. You can register for free by going to lifelikeyoumeanit.com/challenge. You can also find this link in the show notes. Are you guys as inspired as I am? How's your stickability? I just love this idea of success being related to how much you stick to your guns, so to speak. To have passion for what you do and push through the imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, and belief systems that are telling you that you can't do it. Sticking with it through thick and thin, while at the same time having the confidence to walk away when something is truly not serving you, is what we all aspire to, isn't it? Whether it's someone telling you that you aren't good enough, your experiences making you feel like you're not good enough, or a poor health diagnosis standing in your way, you have the power to make the decision that you can have this. You will have this, and you do deserve this, whatever this may be. Consistency is the key. You can't expect to kick a ball once and be drafted for a major league football team. Just like you can't implement some of the suggestions Teresa and I had in this episode, like positive affirmation language about yourself and your situation. Can't expect to do it once and expect to have dealt with the underlying issues causing the problem in the first place, like your deeply rooted beliefs causing your mindset. It takes time and consistent effort to make these shifts. And while the effort may not be something that you look forward to, you're hoping that somebody else could just do the work for you, that you could blink and it all be done, I promise you that the payoff will literally change your life.
Thanks for listening to the Life Like You Mean It podcast. Head on over to the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at www.lifelikeyoumeanit.com/blog. If you love the show, leave a rating and review. Share that love by spreading the word. Post a link to your social media. Share it with your friends and follow or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast hosting site. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, remember to live your life on purpose by living life like you mean it.